Hello friends and welcome to Share Dem Smiles. I'm Alyssa and today I'm going to be doing my July TBR. And yes, this is the TBR that you all helped me pick. There are 6 books on my TBR total. The first 2 I'm going to go over are not the ones that you guys helped me pick, but the next 4 are. And let me just say that I am really excited to jump into this. So the first book on my TBR, that is one that I've already started reading in June and just plan on finishing up in the beginning of July before moving on, and that is How to Be a Boss by Lily Singh. Lily is, for those of you who are on YouTube, which is all of you, you're probably familiar with Superwoman. So far, this book, it's a guide to conquering life, and so far I'm really enjoying this book. It's filled with all kinds of helpful tips and just different things about how to really, like she says, conquer life, not just survive. That's a huge thing that she has kind of carrying throughout, and it's definitely, like, I guess, self-help, but in a way that doesn't feel preachy and is really cool. And so I'm going to be finishing this up in the beginning of the month. And the next book that also none of you picked, I will be reading in July, however, because I recently went to my library in my new hometown and signed up to join a book club. And the first book that they're reading since I've joined is The Dry by Jane Harper. Sorry, the light's kind of shining off of it. This one I don't really know too much about. I'm reading it because it is the book that they're reading. So far, I'm like 30 pages in, and the main character, I believe his name is Aaron Falk, is going back to his old hometown after a friend of his dies, along with his wife and one of his children, and the mother of his old friend is asking him to look into it, and it's during a drought, and it sounds really interesting from the little bit that I've gotten into it so far. This is not something that I had heard of before. It would have been on my radar, so I'm definitely very interested to see where this goes. It's a book club of bestsellers, so this is something that maybe you all have heard of before. It's definitely out there. But yeah, so that's that one. Now for the fun part. These are the books that you guys picked. Now, I'm not a big YouTuber by any means, and so the responses were minimal, and because of that, I'm going to be able to read all of the books that you have suggested. At least that's my goal. Some of them are pretty thick, so we'll see. But the first book, I was going to originally read them in the order that you guys sent them to me. However, because I got 4 responses on YouTube itself and 1 response on Facebook from someone who couldn't comment on the YouTube video for one reason or another. I actually got 2 comments for the same number, so I'm going to read that one first. And so I want to thank Megan Kuhn in the comments down below and Felicia from Facebook for picking number 13, and that book is Night Film by Marisha Pessel. Now, this book is, I can't tell you how excited I am that this book actually came up, because it's like a thriller. I've heard about it on BookTube, and when the first person was describing it and kind of talking about what this book is about, I was like, I need to get my hands on that. That sounds right up my alley. And so it's just kind of been sitting on my shelf ever since. There have been other books. I obviously have a lot of books to choose from, and there have been other ones that have kind of made their way ahead of it in my TBR up until this point, but it's one that I keep going back to as one that I want to read. Okay, so I'm not going to read the back to you, but the daughter of a filmmaker is found dead, and it's believed that it's a suicide, but there's someone who is going to investigate it. because he suspects that it's something else, and he's going to be kind of wrapped up into the world of this filmmaker. I can't remember exactly what the films that it just says he's a reclusive film director. So it's just kind of this thriller. I'm not doing it justice, but definitely look this book up because it sounds amazing, and I've seen nothing but good reviews for it, and so I'm super excited to jump into night film. So this will be the next one I pick up. Alright, so then after that, the first comment I actually got was from Choral Practice Tracks. So thank you, Choral Practice Tracks. And the number that you left was 57. And that led me to House Rules by Jodi Picoult, which is actually really exciting because Jodi Picoult is one of my favorite authors since I was in high school. And I read a lot of her books. And then what happened was because I had read so many of them, I think I had just kind of had too much. And so I was kind of starting to be able to predict things and all of that. But her writing is still so good, and I have been looking for a way to jump back in, and this month is definitely the month to do it. And I'm going to start with House Rules, which is a very thick book here, but it's about a character who has autism, and he listens to the police scanners and is very into that. But then there's a murder, and the police come to him, and he's now a suspect because some of his personality traits read as guilty. And so it's following him and his family and how this kind of affects all of them. And knowing Jodi Picoult, I'm sure it's going to tackle a lot of different moral issues throughout because that's how she does things. And so I'm definitely excited to pick this up. Now, like I said before, I'm a big Jodi Picoult fan, and so July is the month of Jodi Picoult because the next person who commented was Nicole Alexis. Thank you, Nicole. And she commented number 44, which is The 10th Circle by Jodi Picoult. Now, this is a book that I guess I don't really know too much about, but I know it's Jodi Picoult, and I know that one of the classes in high school read it after I was in that class. We read a different book at the time, but they read this one, and people really loved it. And I'm pretty sure that The 10th Circle is a reference to, I believe it's Dante's Inferno, where he's going to hell and there's the 9 circles of hell. So I'm definitely intrigued to pick this one up. Like I said, I'm going into it knowing near nothing, which I think is actually kind of a fun way to go into a book every once in a while. So that'll be the next book I read, The 10th Circle by Jodi Picoult. And the last number that I'm going to do today was left by Amy Elizabeth. Thank you, Amy. And she left number 64, which ended up being A Night Without Armor, Poems by Jewel. So I actually bought this at a book sale to support the local library. I bought this a few years ago because I had been looking for some of Jewel's poetry. I knew she wrote poetry, but I hadn't actually read any of it. But I've been a huge fan of her music. I think she's this amazing songwriter. And so when I knew she wrote poems, I was like, that just makes perfect sense. I bet it's wonderful. And so when I found this, I made sure to pick it up. Why I haven't read it yet, I don't know. But I'm really excited to have that opportunity now. And so this is the 6th book in my July TBR, A Night Without Armor, Poems by Jewel. So yeah, those are the books that I'm going to be reading this month. Are there any that you've read, any that sound interesting to you that you want to read in the future? Let me know all of that stuff down in the comments down below. Thank you so much again to everyone who commented. This was so fun. I'll probably do something like this again in the future, but probably not for a little while because, like I said, I'm not a big YouTuber, so I'm not going to rely on the same few people to be commenting. But this was definitely a fun way to do that this month, and I'm really excited with the books that ended up coming into my TBR this month. And I'm going to try to do a wrap-up at the end of for the end of the month, but it'll probably be at the beginning of next month to kind of give you an idea of how this all worked out at the end. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you all, and as always, don't forget to share them smiles. Ciao for now, friends.